the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right, Mets. Step right up and greet West Side. Everybody.
Head for the park and greet the Mets. Hot dogs, green grass, all out of shade. Guaranteed to have a heck of a day because the Mets are really rocking that ball, hitting those home runs over the wall. Jersey, Brooklyn.
Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, Hut, and here we are back in New York City, live, what some would call the hellhole of America. So here we are back live, talking about our favorite team and talking about baseball in general today. A lot of stuff going on. Some things are interesting. Something happened last night again, made me laugh my ass off, involving the New York Yankees. And we'll get into that. My energy's high. I'm ready to go. Been sort of chomping at the bit. Had to do some errands this morning. I wasn't going to jump on and talk about the big trade that happened this morning with the A's and the Toronto Blue Jays. Matt Chapman got traded. Let me say hello to the chat. Mega Frankie 777, Ron C, Nelson Cruz. Ha ha. Ron C says Mets are really hyping up Dom Smith hitting 2 shots off of Scherzer today. I had to trade him and make up an excuse not to trade him and a package for a bat. Well, Dom Smith doesn't really have a place to play here, quite frankly. But we'll get into that. A whole bunch of stuff has happened. And, of course, now I'm all worn out. Whew. At that intro. What's the big news? The big news today was that the Oakland A's traded Matt Chapman to the Toronto Blue Jays. Let me see what the package was. I have the package here on the side here, and we'll talk about that. It's interesting. More prospects going back to the Oakland A's. They got Kevin Smith, Gunnar Hoglund, Zach Logue, and Kirby Schneed. So with this trade, plus the trade for Matt Olson, which picked up a big haul from Atlanta, and the big trade they made with the Mets. It's interesting. The Mets did not give up that much in comparison to the Braves and the Blue Jays. Interestingly enough, it's interesting that was the kind of package that the Mets gave up, because Bassett was their best pitcher. Now a lot of the some of the pitching market is kind of held up a little bit because there's all kinds of talk that the A's are probably going to trade sometime today or the next couple of days, Sean Manaea and Frankie Montes. Montes will probably bring up the biggest package. And they said that the last little while that the Yankees are talking to the A's. I'll believe that trade when I see it from the Yankees' perspective, because the Yankees are not doing anything that's really like earth-shattering or inspiring. So Freddie Freeman is out there. The Yankees didn't sign Freddie Freeman. They re-signed Anthony Rizzo, who's basically, he's past his prime. He's a good bat. He's a 6th or 7th hitter on the team. He's still an everyday player. He's not the player that he was. And the Yankees just signed him. They just re-signed him, which made me laugh my ass off, because considering after they picked up Donaldson, the talk was that Donaldson and Freeman are good friends and that the wives are good friends. So there was a lot of talk when the Yanks made that trade the other night with the Twins that was like a precursor to them signing Freddie Freeman. Well, that's not happening. So the Yankees, there's all this talk that they're going to talk about Montes and Manaea, and it's just crazy. It's just stupid. It seems like the Yankees don't know what the hell they're doing. And these teams are like basically the A's just ripping themselves apart. Amazingly enough. But in a year or two, the A's will be back there. They'll win 95 games. They'll make Mark Kotsay into the next like Miller Huggins. When really he'll go on to be, if he goes on to another team, he'll be another Art Howe. you know, but so the A's are like the big players along with the Reds. The Reds still have some players that could be moved. They should really think about moving Joey Votto, quite frankly, at this point. Joey should ask for a trade. Mega Frankie 7 said someone had this report out there that Correa signed with the Yankees 10 years, 380, and that's not gonna happen. The Yankees have told you they're not signing him because they have these so-called big shortstops. There's Volpe. I checked him out, checked out his scouting report. It is not that great. It's not that great. He's not a blue chip. He's good. He's probably gonna be an everyday player, but he's not a blue chip guy. So as you know, the A's made this trade. The Reds made this trade the other day. They traded Suarez and Winkler to the Mariners for a package of young players. They've given up a lot. I would expect that at some point Mike Moustakas will be moved. Mike Moustakas will probably be the next player that'll get moved. Probably from now until the trading deadline this year. So he's somebody that you can keep an eye on. That is probably going to he's probably going to get moved. Moustakas. Moustakas has 1 year left on his contract. He only played 62 games last year. He's a bench player now. But that's a veteran guy that's probably going to get moved. He's probably going to get moved next from the Reds. Who else from the Reds is going to get moved? We know Sonny Gray got traded to the Twins. Luis Castillo, he's still out there as a trade piece. And that'll be interesting to see if Louis gets moved. And of course, Wade Miley, they let him walk. He left. Let's take a look at that bullpen. I know the Mets were kind of interested in Amir or Garrett. That was sort of that popped up during the week. A little concern about the Mets is that with Schwarber signing with the Phillies, the Mets have a problem. They don't have a real legitimate left-hander on their staff. And I don't mean just the bullpen. I mean the entire staff, other than a couple of minor league guys and I guess David Peterson. So the Mets don't have a reliever that can pitch and either late in the game or to start a game. I would mention also Andrew Chafin, who the Mets have been connected to since before the lockout. He did not sign with the Mets today. He signed with the Tigers. 1 year, $13 million. No wonder why the Mets didn't want to sign him. I wouldn't sign him for $13 million. Aaron Loup got a 2-year deal. I just want to sort of give you a comparison. Aaron Loup got a 2-year deal for $15 million from the Angels. And the Angels only gave 7.5 this year. So why is Andrew Chafin getting 13 when they're essentially the same pitcher? And they essentially had the same season because, Loup had a ERA of 1 and Chafin had an ERA of 1.83 or whatever. It's a very strange deal that the Tigers completely overpaid for Andrew Chafin. Because if he's comparable to Loup, then there's no reason to be overpaying him. Twice the amount that Loup's getting this year. Loup should go back to his Sorry about that. Just lost a little technical glitch. I've been sorry about that again. Let me just. I was gonna do a screen share, but that's okay. I could talk through those. But uh, so so the Mets are gonna have to find a lefty. Now I don't know what the realism about getting Josh Hader is because now we've gotten into the spring training portion of the 2022 season, uh, and a Hader trade would might not go over so well with the fan base there in Milwaukee. So it'll be sort of interesting to keep an eye on him. Now, I would point out that the Brewers are a very good team. They won 93 games last year. They have an excellent bullpen. I don't think they would be in a rush to move him for, say, a Jeff McNeil slash uh, JD Davis package. That might not cut it. And the Mets don't really have much in terms of minor league help. The real big piece they have is Ryan Mauricio, and if you saw pictures of him yesterday, he's huge. He's really a big kid. I don't see him as a shortstop anymore. He might be becoming more of an outfielder. Uh, but it'll be interesting to see where the Mets go here for a lefty. Let me read you a couple names off of this list of lefties that are out there in terms of the bullpen. Terms of a bullpen. It's from Todd Licata. You think Lindor can still be a decent number 3 hitter? Well, we're going to find out. We have a good manager here. So, because we have a good manager here, we should have a pretty good idea of what kind of player Lindor is going to be moving forward. That's a good question. So, here's some of the lefties that are out there. It's not like Chafin and Aaron Loop. This is a drop off. Some of them on the downside. Ross Detweiler. Derek Holland. Andrew Miller would have been good if the Mets had gotten it 3-4 years ago. Chasen Shreve, who's a former Met, I could see that happening. Tony Watson, I know the Mets have been connected to him in the past. We'll keep an eye on him. And Young Jung Yang, which I don't think I've ever seen. But these are some of the lefties that are out there that the Mets could be interested in. Could be. We'll get into all the news. We got this thing with Seiya Suzuki. He went to the Cubs. Also with Montez and with Manaea, it seems that the White Sox are also talking to the A's as well. So we got 2 teams in on these guys, and keep an eye on Lou Trevino, who is one of the righties out there in Oakland. He's another guy to keep an eye on going forward. Maybe not now, but maybe for the trading deadline. Let's see. From MLB Trade Rumors, which is always good. That's the hub. The Yankees have been busy since the end of the lockout, most notably landing Josh Donaldson, Isaiah Kind of Falafel, Ben Rovent, and a trade with the Twins, as well as last night's sign of Anthony Rizzo. Despite those additions to the lineup, the pitching staff remains largely unchanged. Let me go into this. I don't know what the Yankees are going to finish. Adding in quality arms like those of Manaea and Montez would be a fairly sensible way of providing an extra degree of certainty for the staff. Manaea pitched 179 innings. Montez, meanwhile, tossed 187. These guys are very durable, as well as Bassett. So these guys pitched a lot of innings last year for the A's. So the Mets, any team picking these guys up, including the Mets, they're in good shape with some of these pitchers. The Yankees fans might speculate about whether Luke Voigt could be involved in such a trade now that Rizzo is in the fold. With the A's having just traded Olsen, they could presumably slot Voigt into regular first base duty in Oakland. I would point out as well, Dom Smith. So Dom Smith maybe could be moved again. It could be moved to Oakland. Now teams don't like doing multiple trades with one team, so they like to. As you notice, they're spreading all these players out. One player went to the Braves, one went to the Mets, one went to the Blue Jays, and they're the big players. Don't be surprised if the next guy to be moved is Mcneil because he's got 1 year. He's got this year on his contract. Then he's a free agent, so he's probably the most likely guy to move now, more than Montez. Montez has 2 years left on his contract. But keep an eye on Dom Smith. The only drawback to Dom Smith is that Dom has 2 years left. Because then he becomes a free agent. I think off the top of my head. So with Dom, they might not be so interested in bringing in Dom. But if everyone sort of goes with this sort of narrative that Dom has turned his career around, then there's probably a possibility that Dom could be on. That would be a perfect spot for him. He could play first. There's no pressure out there. They seem to find they seem to get the most out of these lease players. As you know, I'm not a big fan of Dom's bat or really of him as a player. And that'd be a perfect spot for him. I think he's better than Luke Voigt. To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of Luke Voigt. He's a bit of a plotting kind of first baseman. He's more of a DH, in my view. Some other sort of odds and ends with the Mets before we get into some of these big players that are free agents and are talking to a lot of teams. Mike Montgomery, he signed with the Mets the other day on a minor league deal. He's one of the lefties, who will be, I guess, fighting for a spot with the Mets with Alex Claudio. Jacob deGrom said he was going to opt out after this year. Taijuan Walker has a bit of a knee issue. I know that Starling Marte missed the first day of workouts because he's nursing a bit of an oblique injury, but he worked out yesterday. J.D. Davis will be sort of playing third, be playing outfield, DH in a little bit. I guess first, that Buck said. Jeff McNeil is going to be playing second and the outfield, he said. He also said that, and this is Buck saying that Dom is going to be playing a lot of first, a lot of outfield, and I guess probably DH here and there. So these are some of the guys that the Mets have that are chips. They're going to get moved eventually, specifically Davis and Dom Smith. Dom does not have a place to play every day. If you believe in him as an everyday player, he cannot be here because you can't have him be playing every day over Pete Alonso. Also, Buck has said that Robinson Cano is going to get a chance to play a little bit of second and be the DH. He's not and first base, so he's not going to be primarily a DH, which we all kind of thought that was going to be the case, including myself. According to Buck, he said that Robinson could still hit because he went to go watch him down in Winter Ball, and he said he could still hit. Now Buck says he can still hit, then I'm going to assume that he can still hit. So that's the one thing about Buck. He knows how to evaluate this player. So if he's telling you that Robinson can still hit, then Robinson's going to be a big plus for this lineup. Now, I was going through this lineup, and a lot of people want to put Starling Marte in the middle of this lineup. Marte has never been a middle of the order guy. He's always been a leadoff guy. The guy stole 45 bases last year. You got to lead him off, So with my Mets lineup would be this. Starling Marte in center, Nimmo in left field, batting second, Francisco Lindor batting third. Batting fourth is Pete Alonso. Now this is where it gets a little kind of where the Mets I think come up a little short with the middle of the lineup. They're better than they were last year. Hopefully, they in terms of just the character of this team, you won't see. I don't think you'll see empty at bats that you saw with Michael Conforto batting in the middle of this lineup. But Escobar is the third baseman. I'd bat him fifth, if not Cano's fifth. We'll see how Cano is. To me, Cano will be the DH on this team. Then Jeff McNeil be batting seventh on this team. James McCann be batting eighth, and Kanye would be batting ninth. From what I understand, Conhuck gets on. I can't. We'll figure out how to pronounce his name at some point. But Kanye will be batting ninth in my lineup. And from what I understand, he's a guy that gets on base a lot. So that is somebody to keep an eye on, at least where he's going to bat. That'll be a key to certain things. To Mega Frankie, he says the Mets should have signed Colin Mchugh before he signed for another team. Well, these things happen. It depends. It also depends, what a player's looking for. And Colin had played here. So maybe he didn't really like playing here in New York. I mean, he's been on these small markets. So maybe he just wanted to be in a small market. Maybe he didn't want to be here. So that's okay. Can't sign everybody. I mean, the Mets signed some of the bigger players in this offseason. I mean, once you sign Max Scherzer, that tells everybody that you're open for business. So it's not a situation where the Mets are like, they're ready to go. We'll go. Let's go. But we'll go through some of these names, some of these big names that are sort of dropping off the board, I guess. Yusei Kikuchi signed a 3-year deal with the Blue Jays. 3 years, $36 million, I guess it was. From Todd Licata, Cano looks in lesser shape to me. Tougher at 39 without the PEDs. Well, we'll see. We haven't seen him in a couple of years. You get to be 30, you get to be a little bit older. You tend to sort of widen out a little bit. Even if you're thin, you widen out. So Kikuchi signed with the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are doing some amazing things. We'll get into them. There's big rumor. There was also a big rumor about Jose Ramirez this morning that the Blue Jays were really hot on his tail, and that they were willing to sort of bring him in to have him play second, and that'd be some incredible lineup. But he has 2 years, and do they have much left to deal? And from their farm system, they gave up a lot for Matt Chapman, and we'll get into Chapman once we get into some of these names. So Chapin went to the Tigers. Mega Frankie wants me to give you my opinion on Kenley Janssen. I don't know where he's going. I think he'll go back to the Dodgers. I think he will go back to the Dodgers, quite frankly. I don't think he's going anywhere else. All right, here's some of the lesser names that are out there that were traded or just lesser names. Colin Mchugh, I mentioned he went to the Braves. Matt also went to the Braves. So that means Freddie Freeman is out with the Braves. I don't know what happened down there. Something crazy went down there with Freddie and the Braves that he didn't. Because they made this big trade with the A's, and they didn't tell Freddie. And considering that they were in negotiations with Freddie, you'd think they would have talked to him and said, "Look, we're gonna make this move to bring in Olsen, so we're not gonna sign you." They didn't do that. So something happened. Something soured that relationship down there. It seems that the Braves did not want to give Freddie more than 5 years, but they didn't have a problem getting 8 years to Olsen. Partially because he's much, much younger. He's 4 years younger. So he went to the Braves. This morning, Matt Chapman, again, he went to the Blue Jays, which we didn't hear much about where he was going to go. There was talk about the Mets last year about him, but really he can't hit. I'm sorry. People are all excited about him, but this guy can't hit. He's a 220 hitter at best. He's a great third baseman. The guy is probably the second best third baseman in the game defensively, behind Nolan Arenado. But this guy can't hit. He cannot hit the broadside of a barn. Strikes out 180 to 200 times a year. And last year, he was coming back from a hip injury. You stay away from guys that are in their 20s that have a hip injury because that means it's degenerative. Now, I don't know if they're going to give him a contract long term, but I would let him play out the string with his contract. I would not give him any contract if I were the Blue Jays. Just let him play it, see how he is, see if he's healthy, and worry about let him earn that because I don't trust him. That is not in my view a long term successful kind of situation. And they gave up a lot for him, and I don't know how good he's going to be long term. And I might be the one person that'll tell you. I'll tell you what I think. I'll tell you how it is. To me, he's a risk. I'm glad the Mets didn't get him. Mets have a third base prospect anyway. Mets have a big prospect with Brett Beatty, and he's the number one prospect on a lot of these lists. I guess Baseball America named him the number one prospect at third base in Major League Baseball. And as you know, Alvarez is number two in Baseball America. But Mets didn't really need him, and I'm glad the Mets did not pick him up because they would have had to give up Beatty. You can't give up Beatty. You can't have every veteran in here. You got to have some young guys, and he is a big prospect, Beatty. When he's here, he's probably going to start the year in Double A. If there's a struggle with Eduardo Escobar in terms of his defense or his offense, or if there's some kind of injury to the outfield, he might not be first in line to get here, but he might be here this year, as well as Mark Vientos. Somebody mentioned in the chat Mark Vientos, who will be playing in AAA this year. So he'll probably be the first guy to come up, to play outfield at third base for the Mets if there's an issue offensively or defensively with Escobar or injury-wise. Jorge Soler. I've heard the Dodgers with him. But we'll see where he goes. Hold on, I need to drink. Glue. Zach Greinke, I haven't heard anything with. I mentioned Jose Ramirez. The Blue Jays connected to him. He's another guy. First of all, with Jose Ramirez, he's probably the ugliest baseball player in the game right now. And he's probably and of course the all-time ugliest player in the history of the game is Willie McGee. You're old enough to remember Willie McGee. Yeah, former batting title champion, former MVP of the Cardinals. But Jose Ramirez, he's a two-time, not MVP winner, but he came in second two times in a row for MVP voting. And he's going to get moved eventually because the Guardians or whatever they call themselves are going to have a brutal season, and he will be moved probably before the trading deadline. But he's a guy who I feel the Mets should stay away from him too. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Not too many teams can have the players to bring him in. He's gonna the Guardians gonna be asking for a lot of players for him, and a lot of good prospects. Just a little while ago, Eddie Rosario re-signed with the Braves. That seemed to make a lot of sense. It didn't seem like the Braves were, he didn't have much of a market, it seems, to be honest with you. Jonathan Villar is still out there. I know he wants to come back to the Mets, but it doesn't seem the Mets want him. The Mets have enough infield help. They don't really need him. That's kind of, I think that ship set sail. If they wanted him back, they would have signed him to another year. They didn't do that. Nelson Cruz, he signed with the Nationals. We'll see how much he has left. I don't think he has much left. He did not play well for the Rays when they traded him before the trade deadline. Albert Pujols, I don't know where he's going. The sentimentality seems the Cardinals. I expect some big moves here today and tonight. I'll be back again tonight. We're going to go for a while now. We're going to be going for about 35 minutes here. But we're going to be going on until about 4 o'clock. So we'll be on for a while. Hopefully my voice doesn't give out. But I'm going to go for a while, and we'll be back later on in the evening. I got to do some stuff in between and have dinner, but I'll be back later too. So we're going to go for a while here. I'm going to go over all these players infinitum. I'm going to go through every single thing here. So here we go. We're going to talk about some of the big players today that are still out there and where some of them have gone. Freddie Freeman. So the Mets weren't really involved with him. There was some talk and then just sort of fizzled over the. I did a video on him last week. The Rays are kind of skulking around, but the Rays, they'll sign him and then they'll move him. So I don't think that Freddie would want to go there. The Braves are out since they brought in Olson. The Yankees are sort of gone out of this situation. He's gone. Or they're gone. So we can kind of cross out the Yankees because they re-signed Anthony Rizzo. The Dodgers are still there. The Padres have popped up because of this whole thing, this bad injury to Tatis Jr. broke his wrist riding a motorcycle. I guess back in January, he didn't, and because he wasn't able to sort of tell the club, he didn't get it looked at. So the Padres are in on a big player, and the Padres are in on a few of these players, and some of them are off the board now. The Blue Jays, I don't know where this stands with the Blue Jays. I would think that this kind of knocks the Blue Jays off of this situation since they picked up CHAPMAN, because then they'd have to figure out what to do with Guerrero, because Guerrero's the first baseman there, obviously, and DH, I guess. So it'll be interesting. I don't think that they're in on. I'm not going to cross them off the board. But the Blue Jays seem to be um, out of this situation. Then there's the Red Sox, which picked up last night and today. So really, the two teams I see in this situation, three teams: the Padres, the Dodgers, and the Red Sox. If he goes to the Red Sox, this kills the Yankee. Let me tell you something. I don't know how many of you are from New York that are listening, but the Yankee fans are absolutely beside themselves. Absolutely beside themselves when it comes to the Yankees and what the Yankees are doing. They are flipping out. I mean, they're flipping this morning, saying that they're fed up with the Yankees, that they're done with the Yankees. There was a lady that was on with Tiki and Toby, or Tiki and this morning, and she was a season ticket holder. She's so pissed off. She's like, I got $4,000 credit, and this is what they do. And so it seems to be a little sort of anger from the Yankee fans, especially when it comes to Freddie Freeman. It doesn't seem he's not gonna be met with Rizzo resigning. Here's something interesting about Mets minor league camp. This is Michael Mayer, who writes for Metsmerize. I always talk about Metsmerize all the time. He writes this: one player sticking out in Mets minor league camp is Kevin Kendall. Kendall, 22, was the Mets' seventh round pick last year and had an OPS at 872 in his first 31 pro games. Now, this is a Mets channel, so we talk about a lot of stuff with the Mets. Played mostly shortstop last year, but can also play second center field, third base. He's also a plus runner. Well, I don't know anything about it, but that's a play to keep an eye on. Interestingly enough. Here's from Ken Rosendahl. One thing to keep in mind as Freeman talks continue: no state tax on Florida versus 12.3%, the highest bracket in California. On the other hand, the Dodgers perennial contenders Padres also set up well to compete. Can Freeman count on low revenue Rays to sustain success? Yeah, but here's the thing about the Rays: they'll move them. That's for damn sure. They'll move him. They'll trade him pretty quick. So I don't see him going to the Rays. The Red Sox is a different situation. I could see him going to the Red Sox. Oh, here's a trade. Here's a trade for you. The Kansas City Royals. We have acquired left-handed pitcher Amir Garrett, who I mentioned a little while ago, from the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for left-hand pitcher Mike Minor and cash considerations. So at least we got a trade. Well, I did mention. So the Reds are continuing to break the team up. A complete total disgrace. Complete disgrace. What's going on with the Reds? From Mega Frankie 777, Yankees have become the Wilpons and Cohen is the new George Steinbrenner. Well, he's not as angry and nasty as George was. George could be real. He could really be a real bitch. He was a real bitch back in the day. Excuse my language. So we have another trade. The Reds traded one of their other players. That's Amir Garrett. So I'm going to assume they're probably going to move Luis Castillo. They basically broken up the entire team, and Joey Votto should beg for a trade. Let me take a look on him on the side here. But in the meanwhile, please like this video and subscribe. We're going to go for quite a while. Let's take a look at Joey Votto's contract situation. Because Joey should be asking himself, what are they doing here? Let's see what Joey's contract deal is. Let's see. And Joey's like consummate red. So Joey's 38 years old. Let me see what his contract thing is. He actually had a good year last year. He had a very good year. Let's check out. I just want to check his salary out. Okay, so Joey is signed for the next 2 years for $50 million, and whoever he's with, will have a team option. Let me take a look at his numbers. Oh, well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Just hold on a second. Just want to check something. Thank you for the generosity. Thank you. So let's take a look at Joey. So Joey played 130 games last year. He hit 36 home runs, 99 RBIs. Very low walk total. Hit 266, which is below his average. Everything below his average except for his slugging percentage. 375 on base percentage is pretty good, but it's below his average. His highest that he's ever had is 454 in 2017. 563 slugging percentage, 938 OPS. So he still can do it, but can he do? But this is not the best of Joey. The best of Joey was in 2017. But Joey should be asking for a trade. He should not be stuck there in Cincinnati now. He should be asking for a trade. See, he only has 2 years left on his contract. He's not the player that he was, but he's still very productive. I'd like to know what his numbers are on the road. But Joey should be going to the Reds management and said, look, if you're going to move all these guys from my team, maybe you should think about moving me. I'll waive. He's probably got no trade clause. He signed a 10-year deal. He's got 2 more years left on the contract. That's not a bad contract. I mean, $25 million is not bad now, and he's still productive. You'll still get something out of Joey. He might not be an everyday player, and you could DH him now. That should be something that he should ask for. He should ask for a trade. He should not be stuck with that bad team. He shouldn't at all. That's not fair to him. So the Braves. So I mean the Reds made this trade. And Joe should just ask for a trade. That's it. That's about it. You know. Just double check. Bullcap Sports puts this out, and I forgot about this whole kerfluffle between Amir Garrett and Javi Baez. They hate each other. Baez hit a home run off of Garrett, and he just basically showed him up all the way around the bases. They hate each other. But that's an interesting trade, like I said, because with the Reds, because the fact is the Reds are breaking that team apart, and Votto should ask for a trade at this point. It's only fair. Interesting. All right, where were we? Okay, here's one of the big players. That are out there. Also, with this trade of Garrett for Minor, the Royals picked up Minor's option, so they have him for 2 years. So this also talks about the tanking. This is terrible what the Reds are doing. Terrible. It's one thing the A's are doing it because they kind of were talking about breaking the team up. They'd gone as far as they could with this group. They don't want to lose the value of some of these players, and they're gonna be back very quickly. They might have a bad year and lose 95 games with their new manager, but they're gonna have a very good team. We know that they had the systems in place to be really good. What the Reds have done over the last really this year, this off season, is unbelievable. And even Baltimore. What Baltimore has done is terrible. They should not be a bad team down there. It's Baltimore. It's the Orioles. When you see the Orioles back in the day, it was always quality. It was always great teams, good players. The great pitching staff. Frank Robinson. Cal Ripken Jr., Eddie Murray. What's going on down there is terrible. From Mega Frankie 777, Mets should inquire on Luis Castillo. I think they have, but like I said, since they brought in Bassett, they need a lefty pitcher in here. They need a lefty starter. They should go back to the A's and ask them. I'm sure they have. Go back and say, what's it going to take? What's it going to take to bring in Mcneil? Because Mcneil is a better fit for the Mets now than Castillo is. Mets don't need another right-hand starter in here. Mets need a lefty in here badly. I have to go through some teams and see who's available. Keep an eye on Madison Bumgarner over the next year or so. He's probably gonna get moved. That's another team that I don't know what the hell they're doing. There's the Diamondbacks. All right. Now the next big player that is on the board, that probably is getting some teams eliminated now, is Chris Bryant. The Mets have been talking about him, and we've all been talking about Chris Bryant for quite a few years. But I don't see that happening now, and the Mets basically have said that they're not bringing in a big ticket market for a position player. Pitcher is different, but with this whole thing with Chris Bryant's a little bit different. But he was mentioned for a long time with the Mets. Now I did read a rumor last night or the last day or so that the Mets have an offer on the table to Chris Bryant for 1 year, $30 million. That's not going to cut it. He's not going to sign with the Mets for $30 million. That's for sure. That's not happening. So that's not going to happen. For Mega Frank, you can always fall back on Peterson. We'll see. He did not have a good year last year, and he was injured. Mets had some weird injuries. They lost Joe Lucchese to Tommy John surgery, and he looked pretty good. I liked Joey, and I'm very upset when he got hurt. But some of the teams on Bryant now, I guess we can kind of eliminate the Phillies off of this list. So we'll cross them out. But we might have to cross. I'm not going to cross them out yet because the Mariners are always making some move to bring in some big player. So we'll keep them there. The Angels are talking to him. The Padres and the Rockies will circle the Rockies as a team that might be a place that he'll go because it seems like the Rockies want to bring in some veteran players. Why Chris Bryant would go there is beyond me. That's another group. After their bad offseason last year, while any team would want to go, while any player would want to go to that particular team, well, money talks, BS walks, as they say. And plus, we know that the agent for him is Scott Boras. So he'll take him to the highest bidder. Carlos Correa. Now, the talk of the last couple of days has been him going back to Houston. And if you look at where he's at as a player and where all these other teams are, that might be the most obvious place for him to go. Because are you going to get, first of all, you're going to sign this guy. First of all, you're not going to have enough time to work out a 10-year contract for him. Because that's what he wants. He wants a 10-year contract for like $400 million. Now, the problem with him is Correa's always hurt. He's not very popular in the game. Fans don't like him on opposing teams. Players on other teams don't really care for him. He tends to put his foot in his mouth in terms of politics, in terms of what he says about old players like Derek Jeter. So he does not have too many places where he can go. The Dodgers have been mentioned there, the Yankees, but I don't think he's going to the Yankees. So really, he does not, and it doesn't seem like the Tigers are interested in him because they signed Baez. And the only place Correa will go to play any position other than shortstop is the Mets. The Mets, from what I could tell, have not been connected to him. However, uh, there is sort of this talk that the Mets would make a big move for some player on a 1 year deal. Schwarber was a guy that they were interested in him on a 1 year deal. Correa would play third with this Mets team, but only if they could get him for 1 year. That's just my assumption. And I think he would sign here for 1 year. If they said to him, if the Mets said to him, all right, we'll sign you to a $45 million contract, he would do it, I think. But he wants those years. So they don't want to give him the years. And they got to worry about, Jacob deGrom next year, becoming a free agent. They can't be worrying about having this guy here when they already have a shortstop. So he doesn't have too many places where he can really sign, because he's going to want big money, really, really big money, and that's not happening here. So the places he could go is rather limited. The Blue Jays aren't signing him. The Red Sox aren't signing him. They got Bogarts next year. That's going to be a free agent. So I don't see that happening. From Ron C. Amir Garrett to the Royals. Yes, from Mike Minor. Talked about that. Again, another player from the Reds that has been moved. Keep an eye on Castillo. If I were Joey Votto, I mentioned this before. He should ask for a trade, Joey Votto. Hello, Hobart Brady. What's going on, Hud? Who's our DH? Well, the Mets are the one team. The Mets are the one team in baseball that doesn't need a DH. The Mets are the one team that doesn't need a DH, quite frankly, because they have guys in house that can DH. Robinson Cano, Pete Alonso, J.D. Davis, Jeff McNeil. Any number one of these guys, any one of these guys can be the Mets DH. So the Mets are the one team in the National League that needed the DH last year. They didn't get it last year. And now that we're here with the DH, the Mets have plenty of guys that are going to be the DH here. From Todd Licata, Mets will need to be ready to sign a whole new staff besides Scherzer next season. That's true. Taijuan Walker's a free agent. Chris Bassett's a free agent. Jacob deGrom's a free agent. Almost the entire bullpen are free agents. So we could have a complete total turnover of the pitching staff next season. But of course, a lot will happen to the health of some of these guys. I would mention this as well. It seemed like last year that Jacob was not happy here. That he was not happy with the way the Mets handled his injury, and we need to keep a close eye on that situation. Jake's is very straightforward with the press and when he talks to us through them. But there was word they were very kind of mysterious about his injury. Something was up last year, and I don't think he was entirely happy with what was going on. So I'm a little concerned that he might not be here after this year. But hopefully, I think the money won't be an issue. It's more about how he feels about the ball club. If they win a World Series or they get really deep in the postseason, that could help. Albert Ray says, I don't believe deGrom is coming back. I am not 100% sure on that. I'll be honest with you, Hob. I'm not 100% certain on that. That's the one thing I do worry about. And there will be plenty of teams trying to get him. The Blue Jays. The Blue Jays got a lot of money. The Dodgers, the Mariners, the Yankees, the Astros. Because the Astros will have Justin Verlander coming off of his contract. And Jake's from Florida. So he might want to be a little bit closer to home. But who the hell wants to go to Houston? Who wants to go to Houston? Who else is available? Trevor Story. I had been on him for a while, since last season. I was wanting the Mets to bring him in, especially when the Mets lost Lindor for a month on an injury. I would like to see the Mets bring him in here, but you'd have to give up a qualifying a draft pick for him. Um, but it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I haven't seen any team in particular. Maybe somebody in the chat they heard a team in particular when it comes to Trevor Story, but I've heard the Dodgers, the Astros, because obviously they need a shortstop. The Yankees, which I would probably cross them off. The Red Sox, which I don't know where he would play unless they decide to let Bogarts go after the next season. They play him in a different position. And I've heard the Cardinals, but I've not heard a particular team that's on Trevor Story. He might be one of these guys that goes and gets a 1-year deal, like what Simeon did last year with the Blue Jays, just to get his value back up. It seems like his value was way down as a player. His value is not what it was prior to last year. He's one of the few guys in the walk year that had a really bad year, and he was hurt, and he's got an issue with his elbow. They said that he's probably going to need Tommy John surgery at some point. So he's somebody to keep an eye on. From Hob, Buck gave Mcneil a nice vote of confidence. I believe Mcneil will bounce back. The kid he can hit. There's no reason why he didn't hit well. It didn't make any sense last year. Something was going on with him. Maybe he was having problems at home. Who knows? But he did not have a good year offensively. And, I don't know what happened with him, to be honest with you. That whole thing with Mcneil was so strange from the whole season. He didn't have a good spring training. I keep mentioning that. And who knows? Who knows what the deal is with him? But Mcneil concerns because he's such a hothead on the field. He's got to hit. He doesn't hit. He's an asshole. But that's why you got to get him running and get him going on the field, playing well and doing well. And he's got to hit. If he doesn't hit, he's just a pain he has to deal with. So here we go. Here's the next guy, Nick Castellanos. Now it'll be interesting to see where he lands because obviously two of the teams have this sort of their DH outfielder. Over the last few days, we've heard the Rangers, the Mariners are probably going to be looking for another bat, even though they brought in Winkler and Suarez. Castellanos is better than those guys. The Phillies are probably out because they signed Schwarber. And then, of course, the Rockies are in on him, too, I would think. Anthony Rizzo, the guy, I can't, the Yankees, is pathetic. Sad and pathetic Yankees. You just love it. Anthony Rizzo re-signed with the Yankees. That's funny. That makes me laugh. Because they're talking about Freddie Freeman, and they're going to get this guy, they're going to get that guy, and you know what it is? The Steinbrenner family are not like George. Most of them don't care about winning; they just care about making money. You can't do both sometimes. Now, if you win, you'll make money. But with the Yankees, boy oh boy. But there were teams on him, the Cubs, the Dodgers, but he was going back to the Yankees. Kyle Schwarber went to the Phillies, signed a 4-year, $79 million contract. But there were a bunch of teams in on him. The Red Sox, the Mets would have been interested in him. They didn't have all this glut with the DH spot. They would have been in on him. The Rockies, the Blue Jays, but he signed with the Phillies. Seiya Suzuki, he signed with the Cubs. He signed, a 5-year deal with $70 million, something like that? $77 million? So he's gone to Chicago. So that kind of precludes a lot of these teams from bringing in another bat like the Castellanos or maybe Chris Bryant again, or Kyle Schwarber back. But he had a lot of teams on him: the Red Sox, the Padres, the Rangers, the Mariners, the Astros, and the Rockies. But he signed with the Cubs. Now our old buddy Michael Conforto. Where's Michael going to sign? That is the question. Where's Michael going to sign? Because the Phillies signing Schwarber basically will cross the Phillies off of Michael's list. Okay? That leaves the Rangers, the Yankees, the Rockies, the Padres, and the Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays made this trade today and picking up Matt Chapman. Uh, I don't think the Blue Jays are a team that he's going to go to, and I don't think the Mariners either because I think I did mention the Mariners over the last few months, but now that they made that trade with the Reds yesterday or a couple days ago, I don't see him going to the Mariners. That kind of cuts off another team for Michael to go to. So Michael's kind of running out of teams here. So we have the Rangers, the Yankees, which I don't think that's going to happen. I probably should cross them off. The Rockies, the Padres, who are desperate for another bat in their line uh, because they lost Fernando Tatis Jr. to a broken wrist, which he got surgery today, and he's going to be out for 3 months. So that kind of puts the kibosh on him going to. So who knows with the Padres? The Padres could be a team with Michael. There was also talk for a while that the Mariners were interested in Michael, but that died once that situation died once they signed once Derek Jeter left. But really, it would not shock me if Michael came back here, just based off of his market kind of shrinking a little bit. But who knows? He might go to some place that you would not expect. So it'll be interesting to see where he winds up going. Watching MLB now, they got Anthony Recker on there. What do you think of Anthony Recker if you're here in New York? He's okay. He says everything politically correct to a certain degree. That I do notice. And here's some other players that got picked up. Anderson Simmons went to the Cubs. So that kind of eliminates Correa going there. Josh Harrison signed with the White Sox. Brad Miller signed with the Rangers. Joe Kelly with the White Sox. Andrew McCutchen, who has not been the same player since he cut his hair. He went to the Brewers. And that's pretty much it. But got a whole bunch of players still available that I didn't mention. Ryan Tepper, Tommy Pham, Michael Pineda, Zach Greinke, Jorge Soler's still out there. Kenley Janssen, I mentioned him before. But really, the Mets need a lefty. Somebody asked, the Hobbit asked me about any left-handed relievers. The Mets have one lefty that is that's going to compete for a job, and that's David Peterson. So the Mets got to look for a lefty starter someplace, somewhere. Maybe that's Mcneil. Maybe the Mets go back to Oakland and say, look, let's make a deal for him. Maybe they traded Ronnie Mauricio for him. Straight up. Let's see. Now, here's something interesting. From Ken Rosenthal, Royals one of the teams trying to acquire right-handed pitcher Frankie Montes from the A's. Sources tell the Athletic. Now the Royals have a very good farm system. And I would think that they probably have a better farm system than the Yankees do. So that's a place where we could see that could happen with. We'll keep an eye on Montes. Montes is going to ask for a lot more than Mcneil because of the fact that he's got 2 years left on his contract. But we'll see. But that's an interesting development. I should write down his market as I sit here now. So now, in the meanwhile, please like this video, if you will. And we're going for a while. We're going for a few hours here. We're just getting warmed up. I expect some other moves to happen today involving quite a few players. I think some free agents are going to be coming off the board pretty quickly tonight and today. Including probably some of the Oakland pitchers, some of the Red players, and whoever else. But mainly the free agents going to start coming off the board, I think. You would think that Freddie Freeman would have decided where he wanted to go at this point. You figured he would have picked a place because he's running out of teams now. The Yankees are out. The Braves are out. I would assume the Blue Jays are out. So he better decide where he wants to go. Now, if he picks the Rays, he doesn't worry about state tax. But we'll see where that ends up being the result. Let me just check my Twitter feed on the side here. Now, please, again, like the video and subscribe. And let's see. But, yeah, so I will be back again later in a live stream talking about, again, everything that's going on with baseball, everything that's going on with the Mets. Obviously, it's from Randy. Hey, what's up, Hut? Is there any good lefty bullpen arms available, or do they think they'll trade for Hader? Well, really, there's a couple guys. Chase and Shreve, who was here before. Andrew Miller, keep an eye on. I don't know where he's going to go, but the Mets should look into him a little bit. But there's really not a lot of guys in terms of on the free agent market. You know, the guy that I wanted the Mets to get was Andrew Chafin. He's gone. He went to the Tigers for an outrageous contract. $18 million for that guy. Yeah, $13 million for him for 1 year. And Aaron Loop got 7.5, and they essentially got the same result. Crazy. That's not a good deal. You know, that was not that. That's an overpay by the Tigers. But the Tigers are desperate to sort of improve that team. Be interesting to see where the Tigers go. I know they have a very young team. Be interesting to see if they make another move here over the next couple of days. As they have a young team, and they brought in Baez, and they have a very good manager. Well, Shreve has a lot left in the tank, but Miller is not the pitcher that he was. Miller was the top-notch reliever in baseball for 3 years. You know, but that's a long time ago now. That's a long time ago. From Big Pump 1, Mets signed yesterday Mike Montgomery to a 1-year deal. Yeah, that's a minor league deal. He'll compete for a job. I think he'll get $1 million if he makes the team. That's what I've read. So he has $1 million riding on it, whether he makes the team or not. So we'll see where that how that works out. Let me just see something. Yeah, so we've seen some players come off the board already. Brad Miller, where did he sign? The Rangers he signed, I think I said. Yeah. Players that could interest me, that are left on the top 25 guys that would interest me. It's not a lot here. I guess Kenley Janssen, that's a guy that Mets could probably bring in here. That the Mets could use another bullpen arm. Either be lefty, righty. He's still quality. Whether he has anything left, whether he's the pitcher that he once was, that's a different story. There's some free agent starters here, but a lot of them are right-handed. Well, thank you, Randy, for coming by. Thank you. Oh, thank you again. Big Pump says, good job with the stream Hut. No problem. I'm going to be going for a while. So we'll see how this works out today. But there's really not much here. The top 25 guys that are left on the board. This is just from a couple of days ago. Some of these guys signed with other teams. So it'll be interesting to see who's left. Who's left going forward. There's not a lot here for me that would interest me. Harrison would have interested me, but Mets has so much glut in the infield. They really can't bring him in here. Brad Miller doesn't interest me. Joe Kelly would have interested me. The Mets didn't sign him. They signed Adam Ottavino. Like I said about him and Jeurys Familia, garbage in, garbage out for these middle relievers. You know, Familia is not the pitcher he was. Walks too many batters. Tommy Pham, no. Mets don't really need. Mets could use like a lefty, lefty hitting outfielder. The guy's not going to play every day. Michael Pineda, no, because he's not left-handed. Yusi Kikuchi signed with the Jays. I'm glad he didn't sign with the Mets. I was very happy about that. Zach Greinke's right-handed. I mentioned that. The Mets aren't interested in him. Mets certainly need another starter in here. That I really feel that way. They could use another starter, particularly left-handed. I'll keep an eye on Mcneil. Maybe they go back to the A's and say, well, let's make a deal with Mcneil. Nelson Cruz has passed his prime. He went to the Nationals. Suzuki. I would mention about the Nationals that you don't have to worry about Ryan Zimmerman anymore. Thankfully, that's a good thing. Kyle Schwarber, he signed with the Phillies today, 4-year deal, $79 million. He was a guy I wanted the Mets to get, but he too much glut with the DH spot. Mike Conforto, I think I mentioned I have no idea where Michael's going. He might be better off just coming back to the Mets on a 1-year deal. And they sort of mix and match where they put him in. Buck will get the most out of him. That I do know. Nick Castellanos. Don't know where he's going. Chris Bryant, I bet he goes to the Rockies. Freddie Freeman should just decide where to go already. Enough already. And he'll probably get a 6th year. If the Braves aren't giving him a 6th year, then you shouldn't either. I just want to mention this again. This is from MLB Trade Rumors. The Blue Jays have had discussions with the Guardians about trades involving Jose Ramirez with the idea of using him as a second baseman, tweets the Munchkin Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic. In a subsequent tweet, Rosenthal adds that it's unclear if Toronto's acquisition of Matt Chapman will alter these discussions, hypothesizing that the Jays don't want to continue depleting their prospect stock with yet another huge deal. The fact that the Jays are interested in Ramirez is not surprising for multiple reasons. The team's president and GM Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins were both with Cleveland from the time of Ramirez signed through his first few major league seasons. There's also the fact that Ramirez is incredibly talented and affordable and incredibly ugly over the past 6 seasons. He's a switch hitter. He's hit 155 home runs, stole 134 bases, and hit 286, 364, 430, 531. He'll make $11 million this year and has a $13 million club option for next season. He's also a switch hitter, which would benefit a Blue Jays lineup that skews heavily right-handed. Furthermore, it's been previously reported that the Jays unsuccessfully tried to acquire Ramirez at last year's trade deadline. When Ramirez would certainly be an offensive upgrade over the Cavan-Biggio Santiago Espinal pairing, the plan would come with some complications. For one, Ramirez's experience at second is limited. He played there sporadically in the first few years of his career until 2017, when he got into 71 games at the Keystone. That dropped to 16 games in 2018 and hasn't played there since. There's also the fact the Guardians don't really have the financial motivation to move him. They're currently projected for an opening day payroll of just $52 million. That's pretty bad. Even for a typically low spending team like that, that's incredibly low, giving them little incentive to subtract $11 million owed to Ramirez. Also, there's the question of whether Cleveland would want to do this from a public relations standpoint. The fan base already had to endure a trade of face of the franchise player 1 year ago when Francisco Lindor was dealt to the Mets. And this trade was a bomb for both teams. Francisco Lindor was a bomb for both teams. It didn't work out for either team because Jimenez didn't hit, and they put Rosario. They had to put Rosario at shortstop, and as you know, he doesn't light it up. He doesn't excite it. Finally, there's also the fact that Cleveland can still compete in the AL Central. I don't know about that with the White Sox. The White Sox might be. I wouldn't be surprised the White Sox won 100 games this year. You know. Here's a quote from Robinson Cano about his PED use. I'm here to apologize, first of all, to the Mets organization, to my teammates, the fans, and you guys. There's no excuses for how and why. But this is the second time for Robinson with the PEDs. This is the second time with Robinson. This isn't the first time with Robbie. This is the second time with Robbie. And if he has a third strike, he's out for good. You're never gonna see him again. Oh, you want to see Robbie again? Yeah, he'll be gone. So I don't know what Robbie's is. Yeah, but they apologize. He got caught. He got caught. He should apologize to his teammates. Us fans want to see him play well. So if he needs to take the steroids to do it, do it. He gets skadooshed out of Major League Baseball. That's his problem. That's for sure. I got the screen to work. Let's see. All right, here we go. There we go. Only got this to work. Internet sucks here. All these houses where I'm around, they're all on top of each other. I think it screws up my internet connection. So here we go. We can go through some of these teams, I guess. So last year, Tampa won 100 games. They'll probably be just as good. Boston will be there, although they probably took a step back, I guess. They brought back Jackie Bradley Jr. I didn't understand that trade that they made. The Yankees, I think, took a step back. They're a year older with the first baseman there. They're not, they keep making this big deal about Josh Donaldson, shaking things up. Meanwhile, the guys, you want a guy who shakes things up and drives 100 runs in. Josh Donaldson's not doing that anymore. Toronto took a big step forward. They really improved their pitching. And obviously, they really improved their defense with Matt Chapman today. So they're going to be really tough. And they were the fourth-place team last year, and they won 91 games. They didn't even sniff the playoffs. But they're going to be really, really good. Interestingly enough. Now, please like this video if you haven't already. Baltimore, I don't know what the hell is going on in Baltimore. They really have nobody to trade. They got Mullins down there. They got the pitcher down there. That means down there. And they really have nothing else. I don't even know who the hell's the manager down there. I don't even know. But you think I should know. Yeah, I think the White Sox can win 95 to 100 games because they really did things. They brought in some very good players. I mean, Josh Harrison is a winning player. He's the kind of guy that Tony La Russa loves. And Joe Kelly really improves that bullpen. They got a monster bullpen in Chicago. It'll be interesting to see where the Royals go. If this is true about them being interested in Montez, maybe they'll be a little bit better than they were last year. I think the Tigers will be better with their manager there. Bias makes them, I don't know how much better, but certainly puts them in a better spot than they were. And they're a year older. I think the Twins could have a really bad season. We'll see. I think the Guardians are going to have a really bad year. I really do. They shouldn't have changed their name. Just puts a dark cloud over their franchise. And the fact that there's talk that they're going to trade Ramirez says a lot. I think Ramirez will get traded. I think he'll get traded either the end of the year or sometime next year. And that, I think, is the truth. I think he'll be gone. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he will be gone come next year. Abreu. The Mets just signed Tony Watts to a 1-year deal. I agree. Let me take a look at him. I got to look at it at the start because everything freezes here. Let me take a quick peek at Tony Watson. Elementary, my dear Watson. Let's see. Last year he pitched for the Giants and the Angels. He's 36 years old. Let's take a look at some of his numbers. His overall walk rate wasn't bad. It's 2.8, but it was very high with the Angels. Doesn't strike out many. Yeah, he might be. I think he's a situational guy, isn't he? I don't think he's like Loop. Um, Interesting. I would look into signing him. I wouldn't have a problem with him. He's a veteran guy. I don't know how he is in the clubhouse. That's another thing the Mets have to look at. They have to be very careful with who they bring in here, considering what happened last year with the Mets. With the um, Mets clubhouse. So we'll have to see where that leads. Um, just checking a couple things here. Please subscribe, of course, and like this video. Trying to get to I really want to get to 2,000 subs. So if you're coming through here, watching this either on now or on replay, please help me get to 2,000 subscribers. I really want to get to 2,000. That was kind of the goal for myself for this channel, was to get to 2,000 subscribers during the wintertime. But because of the whole thing with the lockout, it kind of put the kibosh on getting to 2,000 subs. But 1,800 is the next step. I hope people get to 2,000 pretty quickly over the next couple of weeks. Again, I'll be back again later today, later tonight, probably around 7 o'clock. Hope we'll have some moves. But we're going to go for a little while longer. And then I'll take a bit of a break. Just to give my voice a break and give you a break. Can't listen to me all day. And there's some channels that want to go all day. I'm lucky today because I got today and I got tomorrow off of my job. I took some vacation time. So I'll be able to talk to you directly. And then I'll be back in on Friday on this channel. It'll be live. If there's videos to put up during the day, there's really not a lot to talk about in terms of just an actual video. I know I'm known for these sort of clickbait stuff, but there isn't anything out there for me to do a clickbait video on. There really isn't. So there's no real hot topic to put out there for you. We just talk about what's going on around the game. It's just what I'm doing here. And I'm going to do more of this over the next, really as much as I can. But again, we'll be back in later. I'll be back in tomorrow during the day sometime. Not in the evening, probably during the day. I got hanging out with my friend tomorrow evening. She texted me. I should have texted. I didn't text her back this morning. Probably all pissed off at me. He sent me a video of a song. I didn't really care for the song. The artist is he's a better singer and artist. I didn't think that it was a very creative song that he came up with. Won't get into it, but so I'll be back in tonight, and we'll be back again probably during the day tomorrow. I might have a live stream on the other channel tomorrow too, so we'll see. But with that, I don't really plan on talking too much with that. But I'll be back again in a little while with this channel and a live stream. But meanwhile, please like this video. And, of course, subscribe. Let's take a look. All right, where was I? Yeah, so Cleveland, I think, the Cleveland are in a weird position right now because they're not going to be getting any better. Just looking at some other stuff. All right. Yeah, so I think Cleveland's going to take a major step back. I think they could lose 90 to 95 games. I think that's how bad they could be. I think that Ramirez will be on the trade block probably most of the season. He'll definitely be moved after next year, after this year. Because they want to get value for him. They're not going to want to give him a long-term contract considering how good of a player he is and how many times he's been the top 2 in the MVP voting. Shane Bieber will probably get moved. So that's something to keep an eye on. A lot of teams are going to be in on him, including the Mets, if he's made available during the season. He did have an injury last year. You need to keep an eye on that. Then we got the American League West. Where are the Astros at this point? They don't have a shortstop. But they're always good, and they got a very good manager. That's an interesting kind of thing to sort of look at, is where's Houston without a big shortstop? You know, they won 95 games. The Mariners have really improved themselves. They brought in Robbie Ray. It's funny, somebody goofed on me because the Mets didn't sign Kikuchi, but meanwhile, the Blue Jays they lost the Mets lost out on Kikuchi, but meanwhile, uh, the Blue Jays lost Robbie Ray. Nick Rickman. The Mets need to sign a starting pitcher. No, there isn't any starting pitcher that's left-handed on the market. They need to bring in a lefty, and there's no lefty starting pitcher on the market now. All the lefties have signed. Robbie Ray signed. Before the lockout. Clayton Kershaw re-signed with the Dodgers. Kikuchi signed with the Blue Jays. There isn't anybody that I want that, and they're all right-handed. All the big pitchers are right-handed. So that's not happening. So it seems like the Mariners have really improved. They improved their pitching staff. They brought in some more offensive help. I would expect that Suarez will have a bounce back year. Even though it's a big ballpark, I think he'll have a bounce back year. They won 90 games last year. They're a contender. The A's are going to lose 95 games easily. They're breaking the entire team down. But with them, it's a little bit different. You never feel like they're tanking. They're just reconstituting their team. They're going to move Mcneil, I would expect. A lot of talk of Montez getting moved either to the Yankees or to the Royals today. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. They traded Matt Olson. They traded Matt Chapman. They traded Chris Bassett to the Mets. So they have a few more pieces, probably 3 more pieces that could get moved, including Lou Trevino moving forward. The Angels spinning the wheels. I haven't heard anybody. They haven't signed anybody of note. They got the 2 best players in the game, and they're going nowhere with them. Maybe they get the postseason with this extra team, and now that we got 12 teams going, and maybe they get a shot, but got to get the 500 first. And Houston and Seattle are going to be tough to deal with. The Rangers, they go from 60 wins to probably 75 wins with Seager and John Gray and Simeon. They're a little bit better. There's an improvement there record-wise. Whether they're a winning team, that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. That I don't know about. That I don't know. That's something we need to keep an eye on going forward because I don't know about that one. I don't know if they're an 81-win team. That's what I'm trying to say. Then we have the National League West. We'll go from the West. The Giants, they signed Carlos Rodon. The Giants are a weird team. They won 107 games last year, and they lost to the Dodgers in the divisional series. And I don't expect them to be this team again. I don't think anybody does. They lost Buster Posey. He retired. They're an older team. They're not very athletic. Their pitching staff they lost Kevin Gausman. They brought in Rodon. I don't know how to like wrap my head around them as a team. What kind of team do they have? I don't know. The Dodgers will be there. The Dodgers are still the Dodgers. They made that big trade. They brought in Trey Turner. He's the shortstop there. We'll see if Freddie Freeman goes there. I don't know if Freddie's going there. I don't know if Freddie's going. Freddie better decide soon. Friday the games start. Friday the spring training games start. So it would behoove him to get his situation going. The Padres, they're looking to bring in another bat because they lost Fernando Tatis for a couple of months, at least until June, July, with this wrist injury. And he might not have any kind of season with note. So they're looking for another bat. Maybe Michael Conforto, Castellanos. I should put them on there too. The Chris Bryant is another guy. So it'll be interesting to see where they go as a team. The Rockies, they've been in on some of these guys, on Conforto, Castellanos. Bryant. The DH really changes a lot of these teams because now they have to look for an extra bat. Some of them, other than the Mets. Arizona, I've heard nothing with the Diamondbacks. Nothing. Seems like the Diamondbacks aren't interested in doing any kind of anything. It seems like they want to do anything as a team. Pretty bad, sad, and pathetic. And they have bad contracts on there. Keep an eye on Merrill Kelly, who I believe has another year on his contract. Let me take a look. He might be the guy that gets moved this trading deadline. Let's see. Merrill Kelly is a free agent after 2024. So keep an eye on him because he's 33 years around much longer. As you know, the game is trending younger as players. So let's see what's going on here. Here's from Hal Steinbrenner talking about Horseface. Aaron Judge. Now, Aaron Judge is going to be a free agent after this season. And if you want to understand behind the scenes, the Yankees are very nervous that the Mets will sign Aaron Judge next year. There is a lot of consternation and constipation on the Yankees' part. I might just go on to the Yankees side here and we'll take a look at Aaron Judge, I think. This is from Hal Steinbrenner on the. This is from Mark Feinstein. Hal Steinbrenner on the Yankees plan to engage with Aaron Judge and his reps on an extension prior to opening day. We've been talking about it. Yes, it's going to happen soon. Well, we'll see. I remember, folks, when the Mets play well and the Yankees lose, it's a good day. From Peter. Cole Epler, we want J-Ram, get her done. Like, here's the thing, Peter. They're going to have to give up Beatty. And probably Alvarez for him. You want to do that? I don't want to do that. I do not want to do that. How many more players you want from the Indians that aren't going to do well? I'm not one that brings up the past when it comes to the Mets. But when it comes to certain teams, you run from them. And when it comes to making trades. And the Mets should not make any more trades with Cleveland. I've seen enough. I've seen enough of the result here. Thank you. As my page is frozen. Hold on a second, folks. Just trying to get this to work. Trying to get the Aaron Judge statistics to come up here. Now, please like this video in the meanwhile, and of course, subscribe. As we have frozen, let me just take this down. Oh, here we go. So here's Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge will be 30 years old on April 26th, so that's next month. Let's take a look at some of his numbers. Now, the problem with the Aaron is he's a bit of a... For a guy who's like 6'8", like Herman Munster type size, 6'7", 282 pounds, he is a guy that really, he's always hurt. He's always hurt. He's only played really 2 full seasons in his career. But he's an immense talent. Let's see. He's got 158 home runs. He had the old record of the home runs for a rookie. We know who has the record. Strikes out a ton. 276 hitter. See his, and he's a very good outfielder. So he does a lot of things well. High wins above replacement. I don't know. But keep an eye on him for next offseason. Next offseason, we're going to have a lot of fun at the Yankees' expense and the Yankee fans' expense. That's for sure. We're going to make fun of the Yankees a lot and the Yankee fans if he becomes a free agent next year. We'll be doing a lot of clickbait videos on him. Answer from Anthony Tacoma. This is about Cano. And this is like the stupidest thing. Cano was asked multiple times why he used steroids, but he did provide explanation. Asked if he can guarantee no future positive tests, Cano said, "Well, I'm here. That's why I'm here as a man to give you guys an apology. It was tough for me this past year being at home." He didn't say he wasn't going to do it again. Robbie, I hope Robbie does. For more than multiple reasons. One, if he takes the steroids again, he's going to play well. And two, if he takes the steroids and gets caught, then the Mets are not having to pay him anymore as a as a player. So that's not a bad thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That's for sure. Um, let's see here. Yeah, so Aaron Judge is a guy that's going to be the big free agent. He'd be crazy not to go to free agency. Um, I would not give him 10 years, 6 years at most. The guy's always hurt. The guy can't stay on the field. The guy hits his head on the outfield fence going up. I never seen that before. Never seen that before. But he did that. What was it, 2 years ago? 3 years ago? Here's from John Heyman. I missed this. Word around the Rays are being aggressive in the Freddie Freeman talks. Hard to believe they are in on at all on a free agent superstar to begin with. If they can outbid the Dodgers and Red Sox and everyone else, that would be something. Again, Freddie would be moved very quickly with the Rays. The Rays would have to sign him with no trade clause. They're going to sign him with no trade clause? I really don't see him signing with the Rays. I'll put a circle on them, but I don't see that happening. Now there's no sales tax down there, but they would move him in a second. The Rays would move him. 2-3 years into the contract, they would move him. No doubt in my mind, they would move him. Man, that is very strange. I'd be surprised if the Rays did that. Uh, this is from Robbie Hyde. He has a baseball channel. You know it. He's got the Robbie Hyde channel. And he just reads his tweet that he put out. I'm just going to say it. The Reds have had a decent offseason so far. Traded Winkler, who don't hit variety, Suarez, who strikes out a ton for a patient hitter, and Fraley. Dunn, who has had good spin rates, innings eater Mike Minor, and good pitching prospects Williamson and Petty. Lots of youth injected into the organization. Moustakas gets to go back to his natural position at third. Still have Green and Lodolo. Still Castillo Mali atop the rotation. That's another one. Tyler Maley's probably going to get moved too. I'm sorry, Robbie. They're moving everybody out of there. From Joe Anthony, what's up, man? You think the Mets add another big bat? No, I don't. Because they've said that. They weren't really interested in bringing another bat. And if they were to bring in another bat, it would be on a 1-year deal. It would be a 1-year deal. And who that one bat would be, for a 1-year deal. Chris Bryant for 1 year. They got a deal on the table for him for $30 million. He's not going to take it if he's getting multiple years from other teams. The other guy I would like to see the Mets sign because they probably get a lot of production out of him. It's Trevor Story, and put him at second. But I don't think that's not realistic at this point. He wants to play shortstop, but I don't know how much he has in terms of that arm of his. Let's see any more tweets refreshed here. Pat Ragazzo. Robbie Cano would not say why he took PEDs after being asked several times by several different people. Well, it's obvious he wanted to play well. He wanted to do well. That's such a stupid. The media is so stupid. I tell you. Joe Anthony. They have an offer for Bryant on the table. That is the rumor. I'm gonna say it as a rumor. I heard that. I read that in one place, but that's not a legitimate. It's from a YouTube a podcaster. But I'm just saying that was a rumor that they had a 1 year offer out to him for 30 million. That he's not interested in that. That's just a rumor. That's not a legit thing. But that's what I've read. Um, I don't know how true that is. It might be fake news. It probably is fake news. I see anything else going on here. Please like this video. In the meanwhile, Joe Anthony, would he rather sign in Colorado or New York with the Mets? I guess this is Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant wants a long-term contract, so and he would want to have like a really big offensive year, I would think. And the Mets have said they're not interested in signing any more big contracts for a bat because they have guys they have to move. They can't. There's certain guys they have trouble moving them. You have a bad contract, and Robbie Cano, even though that they only paid 40 million over the next 2 years, so you can't move him. Not after the 2 years of PEDs. Maybe if he hits well this year, maybe they can move him on the last year of a contract, take some of the money, maybe take 5 million, 10 million. Maybe some team will take him. So they can't move him right now. Jeff McNeil's value is down because of how he played last year and just all the circumstances around the way he played last year. Dom Smith has no value because he had a terrible year last year. He looked like he was injured. I don't care what he did today in the sim game. That doesn't matter. Okay. Scherzer's just getting his work in. This games don't count. And JD Davis doesn't seem like he hit a fastball. And he had an injury last year to his hand. So you got guys with no value. So the Mets are kind of stuck having to play them, and they would have loved to bring in Schwarber. That was the guy they really wanted to bring in. That was the rumor. But because of these guys, these four particular players, positionally, they were kind of stuck. Because some of these guys have no value right now. The Mets have to get their value up. The guy that with the most value potentially is Jeff McNeil. But if McNeil is back to where he was 2-3 years ago, are you willing to move him? I don't think you want to move him if you know he's going to have a bounce back. And Chris Bryant's going to go to the highest bidder. I was in on Bryant for a long time, but I'm not now. I think it's gone on too long. This talk that I've sort of cooled on him. I'm not gaga over bringing him here like I was. And I did mention this a couple of times. I saw an interview with him last year where he complained about the fact that he didn't like being booed in Chicago. So if he didn't like being booed in Chicago, I know he's going to like being booed here. And the fans are much harder here than they are in Chicago. Chicago's like a college town. That's the reason why Baez isn't here, because he got nasty with everybody, and he's gone. That's why he's not here. That's why they didn't really give him an offer. They want him out of here. Let me see what else is going on here. See anything new? See any new tweets? Here's interesting things from SNY. From Joe Anthony. Baez goes to play with the Tigers who have no fans. That's another place. They don't care. There's no passion there. There is absolutely positively no passion there in Detroit for baseball like it is here. And I would mention this. The Tigers had the worst TV broadcast I've ever heard. You cannot. I don't know who these two guys are that they always play the broadcast on the MLB network for Detroit, but they are the most boring broadcast I've ever heard. They're boring. They sound bored when they do these games. You know. Yeah, I mean, Bryant goes to a place where that they don't really care about anything. They don't care about nothing. They don't care about the team. Not at all. Not at all. Let's see here. Okay, here's a 26-man roster for the Mets. This is what they're saying that'll be opening up. There's talk there might be 20. There might be a 28-man roster because just in April, so this might get stretched out. This is understand why they have the starting the starting lineup: McCann, Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil at second, Francisco Lindor, Escobar at third, Nimmo in left, Marte in center, Kanha at in right field, and Dom Smith is the DH. I don't think so. Robbie Cano will be the DH. The starting staff: Jacob DeGrom, Max Scherzer, Chris Bassett, who they picked up the other day from the A's, Taijuan Walker, and Carlos Carrasco. Carlos Carrasco cannot be relied upon for the Mets rotation under any circumstances. That's why it is imperative that they bring a lefty into this rotation. And as someone mentioned earlier, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 5 guys in this rotation are free agents after this year. Carrasco's not going to be back after this year. Taijuan Walker will probably just pitch this year and he'll be gone. Depending on Bassett pitching well, if Bassett pitches well, the Mets will re-sign him. Jacob DeGrom will be a big question mark in the next offseason. So I am not confident that he would be back here. The Mets bullpen: Edwin Diaz, Seth Lugo, Trevor May, Miguel Castro, Adam Ottavino, Drew Smith, Trevor Williams. Andrew Chapin got signed today by the Tigers. They say Andrew Miller in this. I don't know about Andrew Miller. I don't know who the lefty's going to be in the Met bullpen. They need a lefty. They won't have any lefties in this rotation, in this pitching staff. The Mets bench, according to this, is not a very good bench. This is not a very good bench. Tomas Nido, Luis Guillorme. They mentioned Kevin Pillar, but Kevin Pillar is not going to come back because he was part of this whole thumbs down thing. Guys you can keep an eye on when it comes to the Mets bench for an outfielder is Khalil Lee and Nick Plummer. I'll look at Jock Peterson in a moment. And Robinson Cano. But I think Robbie's going to play a lot more than this. I think so. They don't mention J.D. Davis in this thing. And the Mets going to have a bit of a bigger bench than what's said here. So let me take a look at Jock Peterson since you asked. Joe Anthony. All right. Jock Peterson last year hit 238 with 18 home runs, 61 RBIs with the Cubs and the Braves. Played in the World Series, won the World Series. OPS is 732. Anything over 700 is considered decent or average, from what I could tell. Anything lower than that, it's not good. He didn't have a good 2020 with the Dodgers. I'd have no problem with him being here. I mean, they need another lefty bat in this line. I mean, they need another lefty in that outfield. That's another thing they don't have enough of. They need another lefty in here. So I'd have no problem with that. Nobody else is saying it. I know you'll be realistic. The Cohen tax is acting as a stop sign, I believe. I don't think we'll push through it. And what is our payroll at this moment? Thank you. I don't know what the payroll is. That's not my problem. Okay, and I don't think that's going to be a problem for Cohen. I don't think he cares. I think he wants to win. I think if they win, if they go over that luxury tax and they win, then I think he'll pull back. But I don't think at this rate I don't think he's even thinking about that. He didn't seem too concerned when they asked him at down in um, Florida last week what he thought about it. He didn't seem to bother him. You know, so I don't think that that's a big deal. Not to him anyway. Um, Here's from Jim Bowden. Multiple executives believe that Freddie Freeman and his representatives may have overplayed their hand. So it'll be interesting to see his final contract. Rays, the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Red Sox. Well, yeah, that seems to be the four teams that are involved with Freddie right now. See, I there's thing about the tax with Cohen. I think if it was any other owner, first of all, the Wilpons never would have been. There wouldn't have been any kind of like talk about some Wilpon tax. You know. But the thing about Cohen is he doesn't care because he has so much money that he doesn't really care at this rate. He doesn't care. He's not like some owners that. I mean, we have the Steinbrenners here. They seem to care about that tax. George wouldn't have cared, but his kids care about it. That's the one thing. Cohen doesn't seem like the kind of guy that worries about the price tag of anything. He might get mad at the price tag, but he'll still buy it. Some people don't do that. Just give me a minute. Let me just stretch my legs out. I've been sitting here for like 2 hours. Let me just, I'll be back in a second. Let me just get some. All right. All right. I'm back. From S.O. Rourke. I don't understand the reliever decisions. Ottavino and then 6.5 for 2 took Chafin. Chafin didn't get 6.5. He got 13 for 1 year. Isn't that what Andrew Chafin got? Let's take a look. Andrew Chafin got a 1 year deal for $13 million. A 2 year deal for $13 million. So he basically got, I'm sorry, sort of going crazy here. So many numbers being thrown around. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to give these guys 2 years. No, you're right there, Sorok. I was on the assumption it was a 1 year deal for 13. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want to give these guys 2 years. So it's 2 years for $13 million. So he basically got what Aaron Loop got. But here's the thing about Aaron Loop. I don't think he was great in the clubhouse. Andrew Chafin, I don't know his reputation around the game. So the Mets might have had other obligations in terms of just because they seem to kind of go out of their way this offseason to get good clubhouse guys. Bass is a good clubhouse guy. So they were probably more looking for chemistry rather than talent. Because it was based on talent and numbers, they would have re-signed Aaron Loop. But there seemed to be a big problem in that Met clubhouse when it came to sort of, accountability and wanting to win and seemed they just pointed fingers, I think, at each other a lot of times. And pointing fingers at the fans. So that, that might have... See, that's the thing you got to understand sometimes, is you may even ask Buck, well, Buck, what do you think of this guy and that guy? And he says, well, I don't like them. He They might have asked him, "What did you think of Chafin?" Because he saw him as an analyst, so he probably has his own opinions on some of these guys. So you also got to take that into account because Buck is a guy who evaluates players too. So that's why when he says that he thinks Robbie Cano has a lot left in him as a hitter, you believe it. Same thing when he says that he thinks Dom is going to have a big year because he watches these players, he knows these players. So there may have been a situation with Chafin that that they may not have been comfortable with giving him the years and the money. Last year when they brought in Loop, they only gave him a 1-year deal. It wasn't like they gave him 2 years. That's a possibility. Loop pitched so great, but all he got was a 2-year deal. You know what I mean? So it's not some of these relievers, they don't get like 3, 4, or 5-year deals unless they're really great. I mean, unless they're like Andrew Miller when he got that big contract, from the Cardinals a few years ago. He wasn't really going to get a big these guys weren't going to get big contracts. I don't get too worked up about these journeyman relievers. I don't think anybody else should either, be honest with you. Relievers come and go every year. Some guy that might be on the Mets, on the Mets roster right now might have a big year. A lot of times your best relievers come from your team anyway, especially when it comes to your closers. A lot of times, one of the Mets' best relievers was Jeurys Familia for 2 years, and they cultivated him. And sometimes when you bring in these big pitchers, these big relievers, they don't do as well, like Frankie Rodriguez, and I don't, I get more concerned about the starting pitching than I do on these relievers. I mean, sometimes these relievers will have like 1 or 2 good months and then be terrible the rest of the year. And then their numbers don't look so bad. And then you're like Brad Hand. I'm so glad the Mets didn't sign Brad Hand. Everyone was like hyping that guy up for to Kingdom Come, like the last few days after, over the last few days. And when we saw him in September, he looked terrible for the Mets. It was like watching a bad version of John Franco. His numbers fooled you because it wasn't like what Hamwood, he was pitching well. He was dominating in September. He wasn't pitching well in September. Anybody saw him, the guy was constantly in trouble. He was constantly putting men on base, giving up hits, and he would weasel out of it. It's like, you don't want to deal with that. He needs that shit. So when there was talk that, the Mets are going to sign him, it's up to him and Chafin. It's like, get out of here. I don't want him. I don't want Brad Hand. He's been, whenever the Mets went up against him, they always beat the hell out of him. And I would point out he's gone to the Phillies. So late in the game, when the Mets go up against the Phillies, he'll be coming in against a lefty, I have complete confidence that the Mets will hit him late in the game because they always beat Brad Hand. Brad Hand is Sean Doolittle. Sean Doolittle also went back to National. So that's another guy the Mets always beat up on. So now please like this video. And, of course, subscribe to the baseball app. We'll be going a little bit longer. And then we'll be back later. Hopefully we'll get some more news. It's been kind of quiet here since this morning. This morning was pretty wild here this morning. We got the Matt Chapman trade. He went to the Blue Jays for a prospect dump. the A's got a lot of prospects now. The A's picked up Kevin Smith, Gunnar Hoglund, Zach Logie, and Kirby Snead. Let me take a look at the Athletics prospects now, because now they loaded up on a lot of players now with this whole thing with the Chapman trade, the Olsen trade in particular, and the Mets trade they made. So they have a lot of prospects now. Let's see. I've been trying to find the top prospects on MLB.com, and it's been very difficult for me to find stuff on all the sites. They usually post the rosters. I haven't been able to sort of get the top 30 prospects on here. Oh, here we go. Can't find out what the Mets. It's weird. And this is what you wanted to listen to was about the A's. I just want to see where some of these guys have been placed. All right, JT Ginn has been put on the top. He's the top 6 prospect with the A's now. Let's see some of these other guys. From Southern Cal Mets fan, any news? No news. No news. Other than Kyle Schwarber signed with the Phillies, which does hurt the Mets a little bit. Adam Oler, who was quiet for Bassett, he's 23rd on the A's top prospect list. The A's really picked up a lot of prospects from the Braves and from the Blue Jays today. So their farm system is much, much better than it probably was prior to this. Very, very interesting. Let me see what the Mets' top prospects are. Now, please like this video if you haven't already. And, of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. All right. So it's the top, 10 prospects the Mets have. Francisco Alvarez is number 1. He was the number 2 best catching prospect in baseball. Brett Beatty is considered the top prospect at 3rd. Ronnie Mauricio is a shortstop. Matt Allen's number 4. Mark Vientos is he's in the top 10, number 8th best prospect on some of these lists. Alex Ramirez, we've kind of heard a little bit of him over the last couple of months. Khalil Lee, who will get a real look to see if he makes the team this year if they don't make any moves for a big player. Nick Plumer, who they brought in, where did they pick him up from? Came from. How they pick him up? He played for Peoria last year against the Cardinals. Hit 280. He's considered to have a guy who's got some power. He is 26 years old. He's 25 years old. So we'll get a chance to see him. He's left-handed too. So Plumer and Khalil Lee will get a chance to make this team if they don't make a play for another veteran player. Now we do forget about the Mets do have players and that are on the 40-man. Those 2 guys are on the 40-man. Robert Dominguez, who's the 9th best, and Carlos Cortez, who's gone from the 20s and now he's the 10th best. He's not a good prospect. This is why the Mets need to stop moving all these players, because now you're sort of running out of this sort of middle group. You really don't want to move these top 5 guys now, to be honest with you. And if you do move one of them, like Ronnie Mauricio, you better make damn sure you bring in a really big player to justify moving another prospect off this list. And obviously, they don't have Kumar Rocker. The whole draft was a disaster last year because they didn't sign him. And, of course, you have the draft coming up this year. The Mets will have at least 3, if not 4, of the top 14 or 15 picks or whatever in the draft this year. So that'll be fun to watch. Hopefully, we'll have another show like that in July. Let's see here. Anything new? All right. This is what somebody is saying. I'm not going to say who this is. This is somebody I've been following. A's basically got a rotation piece for 2025 and a cheap immediate bullpen on for Matt Chapman. It's a fire sale. Holland will have benefit of patience in Oakland along with JT Ginn. You weren't going to get a lot for Chapman because Chapman can't hit. Chapman cannot hit. Okay, he's a great defensive player, but that guy can't hit the broadside of a barn. But this one guy is absolutely torching the Phillies. Oh my God. I wouldn't let Schwarber play left for 1 day a week. Just spent $20 million per on a DH when they're absurdly unathletic and can't field. Oh man, that is true. The Phillies can't catch a cold. Phillies are terrible defensively. Not sure how Schwarber fits the Phillies' need to get more athletic and better defensively. Wow. It's from Andy Martino, our good buddy Andy. DJ LeMahieu has a full no trade protection to 2022, partial no trade protection to 2023, and full no trade again after that with a 10-5 rights of still a Yankee. If the look unclog the infield, Gleyber Torres is the movable piece by virtue of those facts. From Thomas. Us Mets still seem third best in the division on paper. You're probably right, but that's not a bad thing. You got a team that won the World Series, and the Braves, and I would point out the Phillies had a winning season last year. They had a winning season and won 82 games. Now, how much better are the Phillies with Schwarber? I don't know. That's a hard one for me to answer. Their bullpen is still not great. You got Brett Hand and Jeurys Familia in that bullpen. That is not that's an improvement for the Phillies. But is that an improvement in terms of making them division winners? I highly doubt it. And we do have 12 teams now going to postseason. So you have an extra chance. The Mets, they mentioned on Baseball Prospectus that the Mets are going to win 92 games this year. I don't know where they're getting the extra 15 wins. Okay. From Michael Brown, the Phillies are so bad defensively. I still can't believe people still think Adam Bowman is a good rookie. The Phillies could become a threat if they get Bryant or Castellanos. I don't think they're getting those guys now. Because with Schwarber now there, I don't think they're gonna pivot to one of those guys. I think they're kind of done after this. I don't think they're making any kind of moves after this. The Phillies have been very quiet. They've made a lot of little moves, and they made this move today, but they've had a very quiet winter, quite frankly. And they've still not addressed their defensive problems, obviously. Schwarber doesn't help them defensively. That's a guy who's so bad defensively that they you were seeing him. He was just screwing up all kinds of things. All right, here's something I might have missed. Jake Diekmann signed a 2-year deal with the Red Sox. Okay. But the Phillies, I'll tell you, they have a lot of talent. They got Bryce Harper there, but and they have Zach Wheeler. But boy, oh boy, it's a very strange team. They got a good manager. The bullpen is terrible, and it's bad, but it's not terrible anymore. It's gone from bad to terrible to bad. But I don't even know their farm system. I should look into checking out their farm system a little bit. But it's not a good situation there. But we'll see. But the Mets could be their best team in that division. They should be better because if Jacob deGrom is healthy, they'll be better. Just through that fact. And with Bassett on his walk year, he's an improvement over Marcus Stroman. He's a good teammate. He's not an asshole like Stroman is. It doesn't seem like he's a toxic SJW. And I saw an interview he did on a podcast. He said that he gets on people that don't play well. That he really belittles those that don't play well. So that's interesting. I never heard a current player say that. So that was actually nice, very refreshing to see that. So he it just seems the Mets have a better culture now with some of these guys. And Marte seems to be a very good teammate, a winning kind of guy. Escobar's the same thing. Kanye, they say that Kanye is going to be pretty popular here. I've been reading stuff on him. And Bash is going to be very popular here, just with us fans. So, the Mets seem to be in pretty good shape in terms of the clubhouse. It's just a matter of Buck putting the pieces together. And the Mets have a better manager. We can't forget about the Mets. That is the unknown or known factor now, as we went from a guy that had never managed in the big leagues to this guy. This guy will get them prepared for every game. He will not be unprepared. Here's the Phillies line. Let me read this quickly. Schwarber, Segura, Harper, Realmuto, Hoskins, Gregarious, Baum, Herrera, and Hasley. Still forget that Realmuto's there, too. That's an okay lineup. But, boy, the bullpen is terrible. Michael says, I can see the Mets first, the Braves, the Phillies, the Marlins, and the Nationals. And the Mets don't necessarily have to finish in first place to make postseason now. They could finish in third and make postseason, the way things are lined up. But it's been a while since the Phillies have been there, longer than the Mets have. And the Braves are going to be tough, just due to the fact that they won the World Series last year. And they were a team that was dead to rights. And it's funny, I was listening to a live stream that I did back in June last year. And I said that it was in June. And I was like, the National League had their last chance to get back into the race. And they got back into the race in June. That's when everything started collapsing with the Mets and everything else, where they lost Jacob deGrom. Here's a message from Freddie Freeman. I guess he's basically saying goodbye. You'd think he'd say hello to some other team. I don't even know where to begin. For the past 15 years, I got to be a part of your organization. It was truly an honor. We went through the very highs together and some lows, but those lows is what made last year so special. You watched me grow up from a baby-faced kid to marrying my love. We don't care about her. And seeing us bring 3 beautiful boys into the world. Nobody cares about that. I'm so glad my family got to be part of yours. To Snit, I guess that's the manager, Snicker, my coaches, teammates, training staff, clubhouse staff, and everyone who made Turner Field and Truist Park so special for my family and over the years. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has been, I do know one thing. In about 2 months, he's not going to come out and say, I hate it there in Atlanta. The fans suck there. He's not going to say that. I gave everything I had day in and day out. I hope you guys saw that as well. Although our time has come to an end. I look forward to seeing and playing in front of you all again. When that time comes, I hope you remember all the wonderful memories we made together. I love you, Braves country, champions forever. Mess O'Rourke sounds like a retirement. It does sound like a retirement speech. He sounds like he's retiring. And that's basically what the Braves told him. They told him to pound sand because they weren't giving him a 6th year, and that's what he wanted desperately. He wanted that 6th year, and he wasn't getting that from the Braves. They were not, they weren't. They told him to pound sand, get the hell out of here, and they weren't going to do that, and they did that. Interesting. You like the way I said that? I read that speech, right? I read that letter. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. That is annoying. Just sign and get the hell out of here. Who the hell cares? You're absolutely right. Don't say any declaration. Just sign with another team. Shut the hell up. Nobody cares anymore. So give me a break. You see? This is why this channel is different. I'll tell you what I think. Nobody cares about this stupid letter. I don't know why they do this all the time, these guys. Just sign somewhere else and say, I went for the most honest player that I've ever seen come down is Robin Ventura. When he signed with the Mets years ago, they asked him, why'd you sign with the Mets? He's like, they gave me the most money. That's why Freddie's leaving, because he wasn't happy with the offer they gave him. He wasn't happy before the season last year. And he hadn't been happy all season. you know, because he wanted a 6th year and the Braves wouldn't budge off of it. And the Braves didn't budge off of it because they know he's on the downside. If you saw him last year, you could see he was on the downside. Just due to the fact that if you watched him, he didn't seem healthy to me. His bat seemed a little bit slow. The numbers were still good, but he didn't have that sort of oomph to his swing like he did just in the games against the Mets. So, get the hell out of here. Just sign and, just sign. It's like enough already. It's been an annoying week with Freddie Freeman. Just sign someplace. Yeah, I mean, he is holding them. You're absolutely right, Ron. He's the guy that's holding this whole market back. It's like, sign already. Stupid asshole. Just sign. Just sign with a team. You're not freaking Lou Gehrig. You're not Willie McCovey. Okay? He's not Henry Aaron. I mean, come on. I mean, let me look at Freddie's numbers a little bit on the side here. It always takes forever for me. Okay, Freddie's had over 5,000 at bats. The bulk of his career has been basically played. We all go crazy about Freddie because Freddie kills the Mets. Freddie's had this is in the time of a live baseball. Okay, he's had 2 years where he's had 100 RBIs or more. 2 years. Okay, he's never won a batting title. Now, we're not taking anything away from him. He right now, if you look at his career, he's a borderline Hall of Famer. Borderline of that. But if you look deep into his numbers, they're not that great. Now, he's got an MVP. He's won a Gold Glove in the past. He's probably not going to be playing first base much longer. 5-time All-Star. He's got a World Series. That MVP is a big deal. But he won an MVP in 60 games in 2020. Okay. He had the 1 year where he had the OPS over 100. He's not a 300 hitter. He's a 295 hitter. I know people are going to be pissed. I don't care. Okay, this is a guy that he's a good player. Is he better than Chipper Jones? I don't think he's better than Chipper Jones. 2 times in his career, he's hit 30 home runs or more. 2 times. Let me just take a little bit deeper into his numbers. 2020 is such a weird year because guys can have like a good 60 games and a bad 60 games. It's tough to look at him in a different way. They're all saying that some of the players on the Braves are saying his numbers should be retired. Why? You go down through his numbers; they're not that great, to be honest with you. He scored a lot of runs this year. He led the league in runs scored. Same thing with last year. He led the league in hits 1 year. In 2018. He led the league in doubles a couple of times. But this is a power guy. And this is a power position. He only hit 30 home runs twice. He only hit 100 RBIs twice. 5 times 90 runs or more. And the Braves don't do that many. They don't do too many moves that blow up in their face. They don't make mistakes. Now, he did hit 306 times in his career, but he's career under 300 hitter. From S.O. Rourke, the last 3 years he has been excellent. Prior to that, he was compared to Rizzo. Yeah. From JR, am I wrong for thinking the Mets will finish third in the National League East? No, because the Braves won the World Series last year. The Phillies had a better record than the Mets last year. It's really about the Mets. They're predicting the Mets to win 92 games on Baseball Prospectus. I don't know if I could see them getting 92 right now. I mean, they won 77 games last year. I don't see them getting there, to be honest with you. That's a real push to get 92 wins from where they were last year. I don't see that. I mean, I'll tell you what I think. From JR, they need to score runs. I agree with you. The Mets need to score runs. I agree with you, JR. The Mets need to score runs because that's been the problem for a few years now. The Mets always get enough pitching. As long as Jacob DeGrom is healthy, all they need is to score some runs. And with Max Scherzer and Bassett here, they could win this division. And they were in first place most of the season last year. Once Jacob got hurt, that was basically the end of the season for the Mets. That was the end. That's all. If the Mets are healthy, specifically with the staff, they are going to be real good. Yeah, I mean, really, two things need to happen. Jake has to be healthy, and they have to score runs with men on base. This isn't about, they were so bad. I never seen a team that bad in terms of driving runs in any Met team we've ever seen. I think they can cobble some offense down at the bottom line. I think the top of the Mets lineup is very strong. 1 through 4 is very, very strong. A lot will depend on how Cano does. It'll depend on whether Mcneil comes back, bounces back, and I think they'll have some production from Escobar. Whether that's enough protection for Pete Alonso. Well, he didn't have any protection last year, so it is an improvement over last year. JR, they have a lot of players that get on base but need someone to drive them in. Well, they say that Escobar is tough. He's a tough outlet in the game. Now, I've seen different lines with Marte's in the middle of the line. Marte is a leader hitter. You can't, and you got to be able to solidify one part of this line. You can't spread it out to the point where they are in that kind of a situation. And a lot's going to depend on how some of these guys play from now until the end of spring training. There's a short spring training. There are going to be trades going into right before the season starts. This is going to be one of the more unusual kind of marches in baseball because we will see trades going into the season. I think we'll probably see some trades in April. And the fact that they're probably going to go with 28 guys starting the season is very interesting. And hopefully we'll see some moves. I think we'll see a bunch of moves. I think with the Mets, nothing of major note other than maybe with the pitching. They need bullpen help. They really like I said, I'm less concerned about the offense at this point and more concerned about the pitching. They don't have a lefty reliever and they don't have a lefty starter. And they only have one lefty that's on the 40-man. That's any note that's had success in baseball. So that's success in the majors, and that's David Peterson. And he didn't pitch well last year, and he got hurt. So the Mets are going to have to find another lefty in here. Maybe Sean Mcneil. Maybe they talk about him. I mean, that's why I was very surprised about that they didn't pick up Mcneil and they picked up Bassett. Frank Matos, what are the latest Mets rumors? We need a lefty a pitcher no matter what. I agree. The Mets need another lefty in here. And hopefully, they'll do something. But like I said, we're in a weird situation because some of these players are holding up the market. Freddie Freeman's holding the market up. The A's starters are holding up the market to a certain degree. Because the A's and the Reds to a degree as well. I'd like to see Mcneil here, but I don't know what the Mets could give them now. Because they gave a top prospect for Bassett. So, Aaron Gandhi, Tony Watts. Yeah, Tony Watts is pretty good. He still has a little bit left. But then you still have to get another lefty. I wouldn't completely trust him 100% going forward. But let's see anything else going on here. Let's see. Was any more letters from players that are leaving teams? I read a letter from Freddie Freeman to the fans of Atlanta. JR probably have the number one payroll in MLB and finishing third in the National League East is not good. Hey, you still have to compete. You still have to go up against other teams. And the Phillies won 82 games last year, so they're not that good of a team. They just had a winning record. The first step the Mets have to do is have a winning record for the full season. There's always incremental improvement. The Mets had a terrible second half last year. I want to know how Buck is going to be able to put this team together to where they are successful. That, to me, is my major concern going into the season. is how is he going to maneuver this particular talent? Because in the past, Buck has been able to turn things around, maybe not in the first year, but in the second year. But he's never had a team that's been this talented that he's come into. So he's in a different kind of situation this time around with the Mets than he was with any other team. So, and he has an abbreviated spring training. He knows the Met minor league players now because he's had a chance to watch them. And he's been able to watch Robinson Cano. He said that Cano still has something left. So Cano and Mcneil. If Cano and Mcneil have any kind of a season this year, the Met offense will be pretty good. You know. That is really what this whole season will come down to. Especially early on. If those two play well or hit well, the Mets will have a pretty good offense. If not, they'll struggle. They won't struggle as bad as they did last year. You can't struggle any worse than they did last year. You know. That's the one thing I do know. Now, please like this video if you haven't already. And, of course, subscribe. I'm going to go for a few more minutes, and then we'll call this, and then we'll come back later. Probably after 7 o'clock and do another live stream. Hopefully we'll have some news later. So, but bunch of players still out there. This thing with Freddie Freeman is really starting to get annoying. You know, I don't know what you think, but it's getting annoying. And we'll see how this all comes out. John Rossi, I thought they wanted to eliminate the ifs. There's ifs in life, John Rossi. There's ifs in everything we do. If this and if that, we'll have that. You know, that's how it is. But going over some of these players one last time before I call this a live stream. I'll be back later. Freddie Freeman. Freddie, pick a fucking team already. Enough already. Pick a team. Because that's annoying now. It's time for him to pick a team at this rate. He's got the Dodgers, the Rays, believe it or not, the Padres, and the Red Sox on him. I would eliminate the Blue Jays from this because the Blue Jays trade for Matt Chapman. Then we have Chris Bryant, who the Mets were interested for a while. The rumor is that the Mets have a 1 year, $30 million offer for him, but I'm not 100% sure if that's true. It's probably not true. The Mariners, which seems to be shaky since they made that trade the other day. The Angels always in on these players. They always make a big bad move with some team, with some player. The Padres, who are desperate for another bat in their lineup because they lost Fernando Tatis Jr. for 3 months. The Rockies. It's just a thought. Maybe Trevor Story would be interested in playing shortstop for 3 months with the with the Padres if he can't find a team. The Rockies seem to be very interested in Chris Bryant. Carlos Correa. I would say the Yankees are out of it. I'm going to cross them off. I kind of was going back and forth. The Dodgers seem to be a team out there because they have the money, and the Astros. He seems to be most likely going back to the Astros, I would think. Trevor Story. He might be the one free agent that'll probably get a 1 year off for somebody. But we've heard the Dodgers, the Astros. I'll cross the Yankees off this list. The Red Sox and the Cardinals. I don't know where he's going. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. I bet you he doesn't know where he's going. That would not shock me if he didn't know where he was going. You know. Nick Castellanos. No clue where he's going either. We got the Rangers, the Mariners, the Phillies, the Rockies, and the Padres. No clue. Anthony Rizzo went to the Yankees. Ha ha. Kyle Schwarber, he signed with the Phillies. Seiya Suzuki, he signed with the Cubs. Mike Conforto, he's running out of options. The Phillies were interested. That's gone. I think the Blue Jays were interested. That's gone. The Mariners picked up Jesse Winkler. That's gone. I don't see the Yankees picking him up. I'll cross them off. So I see the Rangers, the Rockies, and the Padres as teams, and who knows who else could be on this list. I could see Michael could be one of these guys that takes a 1-year deal. Michael and Trevor Story are the guys that I could see taking 1-year deals. Go through a couple other things before we call this a live stream, and of course, please like the video. Josh Hader's still out there. I don't know if he'll be moved. The Mets have been prominent. There's talk about Frankie Montez. The Yankees are talking to the A's about him, and the Royals are too. The Royals made a trade today. They picked up Amir Garrett for Mike Minor. Colin Mchugh signed with the Braves today. Matt also went to the Braves 2 days ago. Signed a contract yesterday. Matt Chapman from the A's to the Jays. Jorge Soler's to talk about the Dodgers. Zach Greinke, no clue. Eddie Rosario was signed with the Braves. There was talk a few hours ago that Jose Ramirez might be going to the Blue Jays in some kind of a trade where he would play second base. Nelson Cruz went to the Nationals. Andrew Chafin signed a 2-year deal. Let me just correct myself here. The Tigers signed him to a 2-year deal for $13 million. So he got less than what Aaron Loop got. I don't think the Mets were interested in signing him to a 2-year deal. I think they wanted to sign him to a 1-year deal. And these guys were looking for 2-year deals. They didn't sign Aaron Loop to a 2-year deal last year. They signed him to a 1-year deal. And that's pretty much it. We'll be back later. And we'll do another live stream. Hopefully we'll have some more interesting takes on things and some news. Kenley Janssen's still out there as a free agent. And that's basically it. And we'll be back later in a live stream. And I hope you enjoyed this little take of how I look at things, and very different on this channel than any other channel you're going to find on YouTube. Because I don't go where people, I don't say the most popular things. That's for sure. So I'll tell you what I think rather than what you want to hear. And everything's based on how I feel about a player and what I see in a player. Not so much about the statistics a lot of times. So, but we'll be back in a few hours, and we'll talk more about this stuff, and hopefully we'll have some moves to give you, and hopefully and that's it. And hopefully you enjoyed this video and this live stream. Keep an eye out for different videos. I don't need to do a video right now because it just doesn't seem, it seems to be more fun to do the live streams for now and talk to you for a few hours and just get through it. And there's so much information. And there's nothing really talking about that would be worth the video for. And that's it. So I want to thank you all for coming by. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. We'll be back in a few hours with more stuff. And I want to thank you all for coming by for this afternoon live stream. Thank you. And I'll see you later.